Okay. Okay, you're going to take the test over this either Wednesday or Thursday. We're going to talk after you're done with this. If you can take it Wednesday, it's open notes. It's 5 problems total. This packet's more than 5, and I do the whole thing with you, but it's 5 total. You will have the GCF calculator, okay, on problems where you need it. So we have to solve the equation. X to the second power minus 6x minus 27 equals 0. So we see our second power, and that tells me we have 2 answers. Now I have an x to the second, and then there's an x to the first. So that tells me with 2 different powers, we're going to have to factor, okay? So we need to find our 0. It's there. Now count how many terms you have. I'd put a 1, 1, 2, 3. There are 3 terms. So with 3 terms like that, we need to make a GCF box. Just a line parentheses equals 0. I'm going to put GCF on the top today. And then I need a second box with the chart, okay, the factor chart. I split that in half, bottom half for the parentheses, okay, right there. GCF, 3 things on a GCF. Is the first number negative? No, it's not. Do you have X on all the lines? No, you don't, so don't put X. So negative, do a negative check for X on all the lines, and then do 1, 6, and 27 into the GCF calculator. 1, 6, 27. And I got a GCF of 1. So if 1 is the only thing I can find, that means this is not going to be filled out. And I go to my table. I need an A, a B, and a C. So I connect the A to the C, put a multiplication dot. So I will be taking positive 1 times negative 27. That gives me negative 27. So 27 is negative. So whenever it's negative, we are going to minus to equal the 6, and 6 is negative. Okay, so I start dividing. 27 divided by 1 is 27. 27 minus 1 isn't 6, so. Now, if I wrote a 2 down, I would take 27 divided by 2, but I see we have a decimal. Now, if I wrote a 3 down, I'd take 27 divided by 3, and I write 3 down because I got an integer of 9. Okay, now 9 minus 3 is 6. Okay, so these are the factors. Now the 6 over here is negative, so that means the 9 is negative. And if I have a negative up here with my 27, the signs have to be the opposite. So the opposite of a negative is a positive. Okay, now my A is just a 1, so I just make 2 parentheses, and it's 1x, 1x, and then the plus 3 and the minus 9. And that's F1, and that's F2. Okay, so F1, 1x plus 3 could equal 0, or F2, 1x minus 9 could equal 0. So you dot your x, so minus 3, minus 3. So 1 dot x, now 0 minus 3 takes us to negative 3. Then divide out 1. If I divide a number by 1, I get the same number, negative 3. Then I plus 9, 1 times x equals 9, and then I divide by 1, 9 divided by 1 is 9. So negative 3 and 9 are my 2 answers. Okay, number 2, I have negative 12x to the second power plus 36x. So I have an x to the second. So that tells me when I solve this, x is going to have 2 answers. Because we have x to the second, but I've also got x to the first. So we need to use the factoring process with the boxes. So I have my 0, and that's good. So I underline. This time I have 2 terms. to factor. So 2 terms, all that's needed is a GCF box. So the first thing I check for is the very first number, 12, negative. It is, so my GCF's negative. Do I have X on both of my 2 lines? Yes, I do. One of them's to the second, one of them's to the first, so I want to take the smaller X out. And then I go find the greatest common factor for 12 and 36. Remember, you can't do negatives. So I hit calculate, and I get 12. So I need to put a 12 between the negative and the X to the second. So I did have a GCF, so I need to put that out here, put a parentheses around it, and then go up here and divide by negative 12x to the first power. Now, find where the powers are the same, right here, so we can cross those out. I cannot cross those out. So I divide negative 12 by negative 12, and that's 1. And then on x, I take 2 minus 1, which is 1. Then I take positive 36 divided by negative 12. I got a negative 3, so I put a 3 and then a subtraction operator. Now those 1 powers can now be eliminated because now we see what our F1 and our F2 are. So inside of F1 we have negative 12x, that could equal 0. And then inside of F2 we have 1 times x minus 3, that could equal 0. Now I dot my x's and know what they're being multiplied by. Here there's no adding or subtracting to be done. We just need to divide by the negative 12, do the opposite of times. So that's 0. Then 1 dot x, 1 times x, so I plus 3, plus 3. So 1 times x equals 3. And then we're just going to divide by 1, but that'll stay at 3. 0 and 3 are the 2 solutions. Okay, next problem. I have 1x to the second power minus 15x to the first power plus 50 equals 0. If you see x's to a power, you might as well put 1 powers on the other x's. So there is a second power, so we have 2 answers. Now we also have x to the second and x to the first, so with those 2, we need to use factoring. Okay, so we have the 0. Now count how many terms we have to factor. 1, 15, and 50. That's 3. 3 terms. So with 3 terms, we make a GCF box just like we do when there's 2. GCF equals. Then we need a much longer box, and on the top half of that is where I do my t-test. Okay, so the 3 things we check for on a GCF. Do we have a negative in the front of the first number? No, we don't, so our GCF's positive. X1, X2, X1, and no X, so I can't put X. And I go 1, 15, 50, okay? Calculate, and I get 1. So the GCF is just 1. That means I don't do it, because dividing something by just a 1 doesn't change it. They would all stay the same. So I go A, B, C, and now I do my table. Okay, so I will be taking the A times the C. Know what the signs are. You're taking positive 1, multiplying it by positive 50. Well, that's 50, and it's positive 50. So 50 is positive. So because we have positive, we're going to be adding this time to try to come up with 15. And 15 is a negative. So 1 and 50. 50 plus 1 is not 15, though. It's 51. 50 divided by 2, 25. 25 plus 2 is 27. Can't be that. Now how about 3? 50 divided by 3. I got a decimal. So now I go up and go to 4. That's a decimal. Try 5. Okay, I got 5 to not get a decimal, so I put 5 down, and then I put my answer on the other side. Now, if I take 10 and add 5, I believe that's 15. So 15 is negative, so 10 has to be negative. Now, we have a positive. That doesn't mean that's positive. That just tells me whether the signs are opposite or the same. If that's positive, the signs have to be the same because multiplying two numbers with the same sign gives me a positive. So that would be a negative because they're the same. And then I make my two parentheses because we just have a 1 up there. So 1x, and then minus 5, minus 10. So this is F1, this is F2. So F1, 1x minus 5 can equal 0, or in F2, 1x minus 10 can equal 0. So I dot my x's, both of them. Then I add 5, 1 times x equals 5, and then divide by 1. 5 divided by 1 is 5. And then I plus 10, 1 times x equals 10, and then I divide by 1, and that's 10. So 5 and 10 are the two answers. Number 4, I have 5x minus 4 equals 7x plus 17. Now there's no second powers, so there's only one answer. So if there's only going to be one answer, we don't make the boxes. We just box up our x variables and get them on the same side. So this 7 here is a positive. It's like a plus 7. So I minus 7x, and that takes that to 0. But then I need to subtract 7x from the 5x. So 5 take away 7 is negative 2x. Then we have a subtraction of 4 equals a positive 17. So now I just need to dot my x, undo the minus 4, so plus 4, plus 4. 17 plus 4 is 21. Negative 2 times x equals 21. And then I divide both sides by negative 2. So I will divide 21 by negative 2, and that gives me negative 10.5. So we got to watch out where there's no second power. Okay, next problem. 50x to the second power plus 60x to the first power equals 0. So there are two answers because the highest power that the variable is to is the second. So we have x second, we have x to the 1, so we have to factor. So before I factor, I need to see my 0, which I do. And now I need to know how many terms I'm trying to factor. Here it's just 2. So with 2, I just need to do my GCF. That should get me to where I need to be. So remember the three things you look for on GCF. Do you have a negative in front of the first number? Nope. Do you have x connected on your, look at your two lines. You have x second, x first. So x to the first goes here. And I need to find the greatest common factor we can divide into 5 and 60 at the same time, and that is 5. Okay? So 5x to the first comes out here, and that's F1. Then we go divide by 5x to the 1. And the powers that are the same get canceled. Those variables do. Now 5 divided by 5 is 1. And then on x, I take 2 minus 1, that's 1. Then I take positive 60 divided by 5, and that is 12 positive. Okay, now I can get rid of the first powers, and now I have F1 and F2. Okay, two easy factors without powers. So 5x could equal 0, or 1x plus 12 could equal 0. So I dot my x multipliers. I don't need to add or subtract, only divide. 0 divided by 5 or 0 divided by anything is 0. Here I will need to undo the adding of 12, which is subtraction of 12. Now, if I have 0 and I take away 12 from it, then that just takes us into the negatives at negative 12. I divide by 1, negative 12 divided by 1 is negative 12. Okay, next one. X to the second power minus 1x to the second minus 2x to the first minus 15, 0. So we have, again, with the second power means there's two answers. And I also have x to the 1 and x2 and x1, so that means we'll have to factor. Now, how many terms do I need to factor? I see my 0, so 1, 2, 3. That's 3 terms. So I make a GCF box. Doesn't have to be real big. And then after that, I know I'm going to need my table. See, when I get this set up, I'm ready to roll, okay? It's not what do I do next. I know exactly. Negative in front of the 1, nope. I have x second, x first, and then no x there, nothing. So I can't use x in the GCF. Okay, then I go 1, 2, 15. Hit calculate, and I see 1. So if that's all, get rid of it. Then for my table, A, B, C, and I always connect the A to the C with the times dot. So I will take positive 1 times negative 15. And we have a 15, which is negative. So the negative tells me I am not going to add, I'm going to minus. Try to equal 2, and 2 is negative. 1 and 15. 15 minus 1 I don't believe is 2. Now if I divide 15 by 2, I get a decimal, okay? So I'm not going to write 2. Now I take 15 divided by 3. I did not get a decimal, so I write 3 down, and the answer I got, which is 5. Okay, now the 2 up there is negative. That makes the 5 negative. And we have a negative product, so the negative product means the signs have to be the opposite. Okay, so we got minus, opposite of minus is plus. Okay, then I can just make my 2 parentheses, and I'm going to have 1x, 3 and 5, and this one's plus 3, this one's minus 5, and these are my factors. You don't really have F1, F2. You're just taking these and rewriting them before it was multiplied. So 1x plus 3 could equal 0, or 1x minus 5 could equal 0. So I dot my x's, circle them, then subtract 3 from both sides. 1 times x is equal to negative 3. When you divide by 1, it's still negative 3. Plus 5, 0 plus 5 is 5. Divide by 1, 5 divided by 1 is 5. Okay, next, 2x plus 8 equals 4x plus negative 12. There's only one answer because there's no second power. Okay, both these x's are to the first power, but don't put first powers if you don't have any other power. So I need to circle my x's or box them up. And this 4 over here is a positive. That would mean I need to minus 4x. And then minus 4x from 2x. Okay, so 2 minus 4 is negative 2x, and then I add 8, and that equals negative 12. So here's my x, dot it, circle it. I do the opposite of plus 8, which is minus 8. So I have negative 2 times x equals, and then I take negative 12 minus 8. Gives me negative 20. Then I'm ready to divide by negative 2. You always divide by the dot number. Okay, negative 20 divided by negative 2 is positive 10. So x is equal to 10. Okay, next problem. I have x to the second power minus 17x plus 30 equals 0. So again, I have x second, x first. So I'm back to having to factor. There's two answers, and we have x second and x to the 1. That's 3 terms I have to factor, so I make my GCF. And then a longer box for my t. So do we have a negative in front? No. Do you have x on x here, but not here, so we can't do x. And then 1, 17, and 30. Again, whenever 1 is one of the values that you're entering, it's just going to come out as 1 every time. So having a GCF of 1 means I don't worry about that. Then I do my ABC labels, and I take positive 1 times positive 30. Okay, positive 1 times positive 30. That's 30. And notice how 30 is positive. So since it is positive 30, we are adding to try to come up with the number 17. So 1 and 30. 30 plus 1 is not 17. Now imagine writing a 2 down. 30 divided by 2 is 15. So I have 2 and 15. Well, 15, if you plus 2, that's 17. Okay, so we have it. Oh yeah, 17 is negative. I forgot that. Okay, 17 is negative. So that means 15 is negative automatically. Okay, now positive means, it doesn't mean just put positive here. Positive means the signs are the same. Same. So the same as a negative is another negative. Okay? Okay, so I make 2 parentheses, and then 1x, 2, 15, and they would both have minus signs. Okay, so this is my F1, this is my F2. So 1x minus 2 could equal 0, or 1x minus 15 could equal 0. So I dot each x. Now I do the opposite of minus 2, which should be plus 2. So 1 dot x equals 2, and then I divide by 1. 2 divided by 1 is 2. Then plus 15, 1 times x equals 15, and then we divide both sides by 1, but that keeps it at 15. So 2 and 15 are those solutions. Okay, now you will have a story problem. I screwed this up. Down here, cross this crap out and put seconds equals. Okay, that's my fault. That'll be there for you. I screwed it up. Okay, a golf ball is hit with an initial velocity of 96 feet per second. How many seconds will the ball land on the ground? Now, this is a motion problem. This will be written on your test. Motion, negative 16x to the second, because that's gravity. Okay, so with 2 units, we do what we've always done with 2 units. Okay, now we want a kind of a larger third box. So feet and seconds are the 2 units. Now the seconds unit will always be my x, and the feet unit's my y. So it would be feet per second, and up there, the feet per second's really the only value I have, and that's 96. Now this does not go up in a line. What's a golf ball do when you hit it with a club? It goes up, comes down, and lands at 0 feet. Okay? Because it lands on the ground. Now with a parabola, okay, so we're going to put 0 feet equals. So with these parabolas, it's x squared. Blank x squared plus blank x plus blank equals y. That is always how a parabola should be set up. Okay, so x second, that's where this negative 16 goes into. And then the x, that's my 96. So done with that. I'm done with that. I don't have anything else, so we're going to eliminate this term right here. Okay, it's like, now 0 feet would go in for y. Okay. And now I forget it's a story problem. Okay, forget it's a story problem. We have negative 16x to the second power plus 96x to the first power. There's two answers. And we have x second, x first. That means we have to factor. Now, there are only two terms. Remember, I crossed that one out. So there's two terms. So I know the GCF should be able to just take me to the promised land here. So GCF. So the very first number is negative. That means the GCF should be negative. And we have x second on that line, x first on that line. So I have x to the first on each of the two terms. And then on my GCF calculator, I punch in 16, 96. And it tells me 16. So I can divide each one of those by 16. So negative 16x to the first is factored out, and that's F1. Then go divide. And the ones where the powers are the same get crossed off. Okay, so when I divide negative 16 by negative 16, I get positive 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. And I will take positive 96, divide it by negative 16, and I get negative 6. So I get 6 minus. Cross out your first powers. So this is now my F2. So I'm good. Negative 16x could equal 0, or 1x minus 6 could equal 0. So I dot my x's. Here all I have to do is divide. I don't have to add. I do not have to subtract. I do not have those operations. So that's 0. Here I have a minus 6, so I plus 6 plus 6. So 1 times x equals 6. Divide by 1, divide by 1. 6 divided by 1 is 6. Okay, now I want to take the higher answer, which is 6. So it takes 6 seconds to get from here to here.